Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the worldwidechurchofgod.org website. I just heard news today that the armies of the United States and the armies of Israel are uniting, and that's alarming uh, news today. Um, and it's interesting concerning Bible prophecy. Now, a lot of people are looking for a man from Germany to stand up as the Assyrian, as a modern day Assyrian man, and as a king to come in and start being the beast. Um, Mr. Herman Hay had a fireside chat that I have on the worldwidechurchguide.org website. I will try to make it available on the front page so people can view it more, but I will share that on my Facebook later as I've already shared it. But in this fireside chat, excuse me, um, the Mr. Hay talks about the possibility of having a Catholic influenced German Gentile president of the United States. And that the possibility is that with the Israel rejecting God and losing their greatness, that God will send forth this Assyrian to take up the greatness that they put down, and in order to develop the world's greatest army and greatest economy that the Bible depicts before Christ's return. And he put forth the idea that possibly instead of destroying certain aspects of the United States and Britain, that the possible idea would be, and the tactic would be, to overthrow us, take us over from within, or by contract or by law, and go and use the infrastructure of these nations to develop into a United States of Europe, a new world power that would rival Russia, China, and the United States. And in order for that to happen, we have to cease from being independent nations. And we have reached that point. With the Lisbon Treaty of was it 2009, 2009 or 2019? I can't remember. We've been going through a type of receivership, I believe, with Mr. Trump. Now, he is my president, and I will support him. He is the president and leaders of this country, and I pray for him. But he also, in all my experience of looking at the receivership of the Worldwide Church of God, and going through that information, he appears to me as a receiver going through an audit of a nation corporation. And he's been going through this nation, performing audits, asset removal, asset transfers, um, uh, asset cataloging, um, and he's firing and moving personnel um, in order to make this a solvent business. And he's a very much businessman, very much professional, and this is his legacy that this nation is prosperous, and he wants to develop the world's best economy that they have ever seen. But what does the Bible say about that? There is, in the end, a world economy that's the greatest everyone has seen on Earth. They also have the world's uh, most dangerous army. With this news, with the merging armies with Israel, it is interesting. I just want to bring out some points. I'm not here laying this and setting this in stone, but I am bringing this to the light, to something to think about and look at maybe this perspective of things, because it is interesting. A lot of people are looking across the pond and saying, well, where will the beast rise up out of in Europe? What if he's going to rise up in our own backyard? That's an interesting idea because um, we have a president today who is on his father's side the Trump name, and it's German. He is an Assyrian president. He is a Gentile president whose mother is Scottish. So he's half Israelite, half German. Um, uh, he is also the first was the president who entered into, let's say, Jerusalem and established an embassy. With the stuff with Gaza is another thing. The Bible in let's see, let me pull this up. Let's see if I can see it here. Okay. Uh, in Daniel 11, it's interesting about the king of the north. The verse 40, and at the time of the end shall the king of the south push at him, and the king of the north shall come against him like a whirlwind, with chariots and with horsemen, and with many ships, and he shall enter into countries, and shall overflow and pass over. That verse, Mr. Armstrong said in his books, and he gave sermons on it, and even has it in the World Tomorrow programs. So this is not just a off the cuff statement he made and just moved on with. He stated that happened with the push happened in 1895 and 96 with the king uh, uh, of Ethiopia pushing at Italian Somaliland. And so in 1935, Mussolini came back and flew over and conquered Ethiopia with airplanes. So he passed over the countries and conquered it. And so that conquering of the last bit of the Kingdom of the South was finished then. Now, within the King of the North Empire, there are civil wars and fights. So you will see probably Arabs fighting Jews, different peoples and ethnicities fighting each other. There's more scriptures that's talking about that within the kingdom of the king of the north, the beast power, there will be infighting among them. And so it said the king of the south push has already happened. Verse 40 is done. And it says, and the verse 41, he shall enter also into the glorious land, and many countries shall be overthrown. Now, Mr. Armstrong made the comment that from 1972 forward, the rate of the governments being toppled and overturned to new government leadership was growing at a rate that wasn't like it was before. So he made the mention that this would be fulfilling that because the countries were being overthrown, but these shall escape out of his hand, even Edom and Moab and the chief of the children of Ammon. And those of the Worldwide Church of God know who those people are. And he says, he shall stretch forth his hand also upon the countries, and the land of Egypt shall not escape. Now, Egypt was overthrown, and its government reestablished. Mr. Armstrong mentioned him, perhaps it was the CIA, and he said that if they'd done it, it's shame on them, but the CIA is needed in a world like this in order to keep the security and safeguard of our nation. And it's a interesting situation that we found ourselves in world history, what is needed and what isn't needed. But with all the toppling of the governments, Mr. Armstrong wondered if we wasn't involved as the United States, helping our allied countries, just overthrowing the governments and putting them whoever in power we needed in power to keep the status quo going. Um, and that can be easily proven that that's true. Uh, but it says that Egypt shall not escape. Now, when Egypt lost Mubarak, when Mubarak was removed, they had just recently found a gold rush up on in the mountains, and that they had found a gold supply that of mining that they was had a boost in gold reserves in Egypt, and so right at that time, Egypt toppled. Libya was developing their own currency, so they rejected the dollar and the world currencies, and what's his name? The Gaddafi was saying he was rejecting the Holy Roman Empire. Now I don't know what he thought the Holy Roman Empire was, but it was the West, Europe, and America working together that went after him and they killed him. And now he was developed. He was a crazy madman. But it says, and he shall this king of the north in verse 43 says, but he shall have power over the treasures of gold and of silver, and over all the precious things of Egypt. And the Libyans and the Ethiopians shall be at his steps. So it's talking about these countries being overthrown uh, uh, under the influence and involvement of this king of the north. Now, the king of the north, after Mussolini and Hitler went underground, Hitler's system went underground and was actually included in all the allied nations. We built the CIA using the Nazi uh, uh, people. We built they built the KGB. They built the MI6. All these nations used what they had found under the Nazi power, and they was fighting and working among each other, trying to develop the technology and what the Nazis had failed to develop. And so in the Cold War, I believe it was just an inter-office fight between the Nazi individuals in Russia and the Nazi individuals in America. And in order for them to get things done over here and get their projects done, they had to go to Russia and get those scientists and those people and bring them over here. And of course, with the Berlin and the German right in the middle, of things as well on that. And so you got this Stasi Nazi situation. And so each side developing the rockets, each side developing the technology and the warfare and building upon the knowledge of the Nazis. And so you see the dissemination of the beast system has become systemic throughout all the world. And the ones that was watching this system was the Worldwide Church of God, with the Plain Truth magazine and the World Tomorrow. Mr. Armstrong and the church had people everywhere in all nations raised up through the preaching of the gospel that was watching world affairs and reporting. And then Mr. Armstrong had the media empire in order to report on it to the public. So I believe that the whole reason why the Worldwide Church of God went down like it did with its operations was we had to go down, much like 2 Thessalonians 2 says. The whatever is letting will let until it's taken out of the way. And it goes on and says, he who now letteth is taken out of the way. So it's not only talking about he, but what? An entity. And it's the church. The church was there stopping the progress of the beast system, because they had no place of darkness to work in. And so, with the Worldwide Church of God out of the way, the vacuum provided a space for everyone to step in, and there's a pitch black darkness there. And so they stepped into that, and they've been developing what I believe the system, that the beast system, that is going to finally come out through all of our nations. And it's a bit like the Otto von Habsburg's plan, which he wanted in his architectural work of writing about the United Europe. He wanted an independent Europe. What was it, the Joseph von Strauss? He, in his architecture of the United Europe, he wrote that he wanted to use America as a colossus to prop up a united Europe. So together they would stand up. And when you read the Bible, the beast system takes over America and Britain, and that's his territory. He is now the beast over Europe, America, Britain, and those continents. He moves to the Middle East, and from there he's battling Russia and China. Now, today we have everything. Russia and China is the bad guys now. Everything's about Russia and China. And he says about the king of the north back in Daniel 12. It says, but tidings out of the east and out of the north, that's Russia and China, and the kings of the east, shall trouble him. Therefore he shall go forth with great fury to destroy and utterly to make away many. And he shall plant the tabernacles of his palace between the seas in the glorious holy mountain in Jerusalem. Yet he shall come to his end, and none shall help him. Now that was Daniel 12, Daniel 11. About this is at that time in Daniel 12, Michael shall stand up, and the great prince will stand for the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation even to that same time, and at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book. Now that's about God's church going to a place of safety. Malachi 3, verses 15 through 18 is talking about the church being spared and being placed in the book. And so the people shall be delivered from the great tribulation. Now, I want to read Isaiah 10, which is talking about this Assyrian. Now remember, it's a Gentile Assyrian. Much like, well, you think of Napoleon. Napoleon you think maybe is an Italian man. No, he's actually, well, not an Italian man, I take that back, a French man. He's actually Italian that was came up through the French government. And so he, as a beast head, came up through an Israelite nation. And so we also see with Mr. Trump that he is called King Cyrus by Israel, by a lot of people, and that most people don't realize is King Cyrus, though he was responding to God in the Bible, he was the head of the beast power. He was the head of the Persian Empire, which has taken over the Babylonians and Persians had taken over the Babylonian Empire under Nebuchadnezzar, and so there was under Cyrus there was a time of peace. And that allowed for God's temple to be rebuilt. And that kind of reflects on what's happening today. The reason why there was time to build, raise up the Worldwide Church of God is because of the man who is in power today. And so that's very interesting to reflect on. Let's go to Isaiah 10. It says, woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that write grievousness which they have prescribed, to turn aside the needy from judgment, and to take away the right from the poor of my people, that widows may be their prey, and that they may rob the fatherless. This is what's happening today. And what will you do in the day of visitation, and in the desolation which shall come from afar? Desolation, the armies. To whom will you flee for help? And where will you leave your glory? Now that's talking to the remnant who won't escape Satan's wrath in Revelation 12, verse 17. Without me they shall bow down under the prisoners, and they shall fall under the slain. For all this his anger is not turned away, but his hand is stretched out still. O Assyrian, the rod of mine anger, and the staff in their hand is mine indignation. I will send him against a hypocritical nation, as our people, the American and British peoples. And against the people of my wrath will I give him a charge. A lot of people, and I'm just doing this in hypothesis, hypothetical. A lot of people say, well, God put Donald J. Trump into the presidency, and I believe so. I believe that. I believe God protected him. God has been protecting him. That God put him in that place for a reason. He's the one that placed him there. Um, uh, it wasn't what the system, our peoples we want really wanting, but God allowed him to come in there differently and put him in charge of the presidency. He says, against the people of my wrath will I give him a charge to take the spoil and to take the prey and to tread them down like the mire of the streets. That's a reference to Revelation 11, verses 2. Where God says, those in the outer court, the Gentiles will trample the streets of Jerusalem for 3.5 years. So this man, this Assyrian, will tread them down. And guess what? Revelation 12 or 17, God shows that the dragon goes back to where the woman was and goes after the remnant of her seed, wages war upon them. And where will they be? The worldwide Church of God and the remnant of the world, the people who are the remnant of her seed, are mainly in America and the Israelite nations. He says, how, and now, this is an interesting question, situation. If you go in verse 7, it says, according to God, this Assyrian, says, he says, howbeit, he meaneth not so, to take spoil, to take the prey, to tread them down like the mire in the streets. So he has a different mindset. He's like a King Cyrus. King Cyrus had a different mindset than King Nebuchadnezzar or Alexander the Great or Hitler. You know, King Cyrus didn't mean to do anything like that. They said, how about he meaneth not so, neither does his heart think so. So God judges the heart, but it is in his heart to destroy and cut off nations, not a few. And so we see Iran, we see Venezuela, we see all these things that he is cutting off nations in order to preserve his legacy. And now he's targeting, he's hearing news from Russia and China and their influence. And he is making, with the Strait of Hormuz, he's making all these stances in the world to cut off and destroy and cut off nations, not a few, in order to preserve his greatness, in order to make his company great, to make his nation great. And for he saith, are not my princes altogether kings? See, that's the status he wants to bring all the leaders of the land under him. Make them the kings wealthy, above the people, ruling the people. It's not Kauno as Kar Shemesh. It's not Hamath as Arpad. It's not Samaria as Damascus. As my hand has found the kingdoms of the idols. Now, God is saying, he is coming across kingdoms of idols. We have idol worship in America and Britain today. We will worship anything but the true God. He says, as my hand has found the kingdoms of idols, and whose graven images did excel them of Jerusalem and of Samaria, shall I not, as I have done unto Samaria and her idols? Samaria is the capital of Israel, and the house of Israel today is the United States and Britain. Shall I not, as I have done unto Samaria and her idols, so do to Jerusalem and her idols? Now remember, in Daniel 11, he says, I will establish the tabernacles of my palaces in Jerusalem. He is the armies surrounding Jerusalem that Christ warns about in Matthew 24 is the armies of the beast power coming down. And so this beast will try to do unto Jerusalem what he's done to America and Britain. Make them great. And now there's this news. This is interesting. That's what this news about the armies of Israel and America coming together. Are we seeing something like this? Are we? Because this is interesting because never before has this happened. This is weird. Very weird. It says, wherefore it shall come to pass that when the Lord has performed his whole work upon Mount Zion and on Jerusalem, that means the inclusion of the finishing of the two witnesses. And I will punish the fruit of the stout heart of the king of Assyria, and the glory of his high looks. For he saith, by the strength of my hand I have done it, and by my wisdom, for I am prudent, and I have removed the bounds of the people, and I have robbed their treasures, and I have put down the inhabitants like a valiant man. And my hand has found as a nest the riches of the people, and as one gathereth eggs that are left, have I gathered all the earth. And there was none that moved the wing, opened the mouth, or peeped. Shall the axe boast itself against him that heweth therewith? Or shall the saw magnify itself against him that shaketh it? As if the rod should shake itself against them that lift it up, or as if the staff should lift itself up itself, as if it were no wood. Therefore shall the Lord of hosts, send among his fat ones leanness. Now, remember Joseph in the years of fatness and leanness. Lord of hosts shall send among his fat ones leanness, and under his glory he shall kindle a burning like the burning of a file. And the light of Israel shall be for a fire, and his Holy One for a flame, and it shall burn and devour his thorns and his briars in one day. Jesus Christ is going to return. And shall consume the glory of his forests, and of his fruitful field, both soul and body, and they shall be as when a standard bearer fainteth. And the rest of the trees of his forest shall he be few, that a child may write them. And it shall come to pass in that day that the remnant of Israel, and such as are escaped of the house of Jacob, shall no more again stay upon him that smote them, but shall stay upon the Lord, the Holy One of Israel, in truth. The remnant shall return, even the remnant of Jacob, unto the mighty God. For though thy people Israel be as the sand of the sea, yet a remnant of them shall return. The consumption decreed shall overflow with righteousness. For the Lord of hosts shall make a consumption, even determined in the midst of the land. Therefore thus saith the Lord God of hosts, O my people that dwelleth in Zion, be not afraid of the Assyrian. He shall smite thee with a rod, and shall lift up his staff against thee after the manner of Egypt. And we read in Revelation 12 how the dragon shall out of his mouth spew an army to chase down the church, to destroy it. Much like how Pharaoh did to destroy the children of Israel after they left Egypt. For yet a little while, and the indignation shall cease, and mine anger in their destruction. And he goes on talking about the destruction of uh, uh, that beast system. So this is interesting because, well, who is going to be this beast? Who is going to be given power by the 10 nations in Europe? When those 10 nations unite, that's the United States of Europe. That's the resurrected Holy Roman Empire. The resurrection of the Holy Roman Empire, once our nations fall, include the territory of America and Britain and Canada. Include those territories because they've succumbed and been included with his kingdom. And so, in order for the United States of Europe to stand up, America and Britain first must fall down. Now, Mr. Armstrong now it goes back to Daniel 12, talking about uh, the 1335 days, and then 1290 and 1260. On the 1335 days, the work of the church is going to be stopped. Mr. Armstrong said in the Mark of the Beast sermon, and that's a good sermon to go back and listen to. He explains this much thoroughly on this. That 1335 days marks the day where God will bless the church by taking them to Jerusalem and then on into the place of safety. The work is stopped by them. By the beast power's first business is to stop the work of the church. And guess what? How can you stop the work of the church if the work of the church is not already in the territory of the beast? Meaning the country's already fallen and the beast is there, presently on land, not across the pond. See what I mean? But a lot of people look across the pond and say he's going to come with those 10 nations. Germany is one of the 10 toes. Germany gives power unto the beast. Remember that. So a lot of people say, well, Germany, the head of Germany is the beast. Well, it could be. But also, as one of the toes, it's an entity that gives power, military power, to the beast. So they join with the beast. And so the 1335 days, the work of the church stops. At the 1290 day period is when let me read this real quick. Is the time when the daily sacrifices shall be taken away, and the abomination surrounds Jerusalem. So, what the daily sacrifice, in the Jews' religion, I've been to Jerusalem this last year many times, is the prayers. They don't have a sacrifice. They're trying to start up that stuff, but spiritually speaking, with the New Testament church, the sacrifices is done away with. It is the work of the ministry, and from the time that the ministry work of the ministry shall be taken away, now that kind of tells me that maybe the two witnesses will be arrested and put into prison, and maybe that's why the church shows up in Jerusalem, as in Peter and John, or Peter and James, when they were thrown in prison. The church came together as one house and prayed, and the house shook, and God went in there and delivered them out of the prison. So it says that the time of the daily sacrifice shall be taken away, and the abomination that maketh desolate set up, that's the army surrounding Jerusalem, there shall be 1,290 days. The 1200 was it the 1260 days is the when the church goes into the place of safety. And that's a very complicated thing. Herman Hagee gave that a good sermon, but it's if you don't have a whiteboard or on anything, you get it on a chart. Mr. Armstrong provided that on the booklets, and to show help visualize it. But it's coming close to that point. Well, the work of the church is going to be closed down while the beast is in his territory and we are in its territory. So it's not going to be a closure of a worldwide entertainment system, internet. It's going to be a blackballing of the Worldwide Church of God and their work. It's going to be a Pharaoh turning his heart hard. So it's how else could that happen unless the leader of the land, through a corporation takeover, through God placing them in charge of it, putting them in there, winning the elections, we are finding ourselves in a situation that the receiver has been auditing our nation, and now it's time for the liquidation and the shifting of assets. And so now he's developing with the military going into the Middle East. And he's made an agreement with the Saudi Arabians and the nations of everyone there. And that just like the Bible is saying, if he is not the man that is going to fulfill that, he's awful close. God says, well, you're not supposed to look at world events and try to place world events into the Bible. God says, when you look at the Bible, it says these events are going to happen. This man is going to do it. We better believe God. And so that's not only, I've been keeping over my last couple of years, I'm in the back burner of my mind, like, okay, on the back shelf, could this be? And then as we continue on, everything that's being done is the infrastructure work that God says this man, this beast, this Assyrian, this German, is going to do. And that he will have the territory of the United States and Britain, and he will shut down the work, and we will have to go to Jerusalem. And then in the meantime, he will follow us to that area and set up his palaces and the armies around Jerusalem. And there will come to a time where we would have to flee from Judea to the mountains. And the church will be given wings of a great eagle to fly into her place. That's the promise of the Philadelphia elect. But all these different churches, these Church of God groups, have become 501c3 entities, have become these creatures of the state, corporations that public trusts, and they've organized themselves in a way that traps them under the asset list of the nation. They voluntarily did what the enemies of the church who surrounded Mr. Armstrong when the 1979 receivership happened wanted Mr. Armstrong to do this, to surrender to the wishes of the state. Mr. Armstrong and the church fought for constitutional separation and not privilege, but constitutional freedom, rights, and protection. He won that receivership with a status that he was separated and hands off Worldwide Church of God. These men of the ministry who created these different groups have created these different groups, placing the people back under the asset and powers of the state, of the federal government. And not only is it moved from California, now it's become nationwide. And that's what was happening with under I believe Barack Obama as president. They believed, or even under Biden, Kamala Harris said what she did in California, they would do to the United States. And so that's kind of a stamp, cherry right on top, showing that it's no longer the receivership like it was in California against the church. It's gone nationwide, and now all these churches were programs to get them relisted under new assets and categories. So they're getting their names, the people's names, as debtors and names on a ship's manifest. Now, Mr. Trump and the government is going towards more of a common law standing, giving power back to the people and reinstating the common law. Because now, what is he going to do? The beast. What is the beast going to do? He is going to try and he's going to judge those with criminal law, and criminal law is common law, constitutional law. It's moved from the maritime law, the Uniform Commercial Code, the waters of the sea, to the waters of the sea, the law of the sea to the law of the land, and that is for the purpose of setting up the foundation and the infrastructure to be able to martyr the saints of God. Whether this is the gentleman that's going to be doing it, I do not know. But all indications in the Bible that say that the only one man is doing this. And who is doing it? Who's doing it? We got to accept God's decision and God's point of view on this and say, well, we can't doubt that. But God says he doesn't have the mind to do this. When Satan is cast down, and let me read that. Let's see. Revelation 12. This is very interesting. And then a great dragon was cast out. Let's go back for. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels, and prevailed not. Neither was there place any more in heaven. Now, in the spirit realm, that's outside of time, so we do not know how long this war happened. But in any time, the angels and Satan and all of them was not locked to a time. God placed the creation of Genesis, recreation, under time. God created time and placed them in that. God is above time, outside of time. But he says, there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels, and prevailed not. Neither was their place found any more in heaven. So that now they have no place there. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, Now is come salvation, and strength, and the kingdom of our God, and the power of his Christ. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb, and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto the death. Therefore rejoice, ye heaven, and you that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you having great wrath, because he knows that he has but a short time. So now he is under time. And God says he placed the beast into power. Satan didn't pick him. God cast Satan down. And I'm wondering, did God place him into the man? Like Christ casting the demon legion into the pigs. They requested to go into that, but they knew God could allow them or put them into it. So they would choose their image, so they picked the pigs. But and when the dragon saw that he was cast unto the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man-child. And the woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place, where she is nourished for a time and times and half a time from the face of the serpent. Because now he is locked under a time. He has a short time now. He's possessing a man called the Beast, and he's gotta get the job done because no longer can he go and accuse God in the meantime and then do his broadcast and deceive the earth as he was doing before. So I thought that was interesting that with the Beast, God says his heart isn't to do it, but his heart was willing to do it, and God says the devil shall possess him. And by possessing him, he is locked into a short time. And so for 3.5 years, he wages war, World War III, on the world and against the church. Uh, so I think that's interesting. I just a lot of people might disagree, and I may be wrong. And I'll admit if I'm wrong, and I'll quickly repent on that. And I'm speculating here, but at the same time, I feel like I have something to say for you to think about and pray about because a lot of people are looking across the pond and they are not yet ready for what is about to happen in our own backyard. And when the devil enters whoever it is, the world is going to know it, and it's going to show up on the world in a way we do not know. But I'm just following the what God says the man who's going to do certain things, and those certain things are being fulfilled and being done throughout history. And also, what kind of started this was there was a video uh, of a possibility of Mr. Trump being running the Epstein type stuff, the Jeffrey Epstein, uh, for years beforehand. Well, God says in not Daniel, but the Isaiah 10 that this man comes across a kingdom, a hypocrite nation, comes across a kingdom of idols, and he is successful. And he says, "Shall I not be successful in Jerusalem?" In Jerusalem? And that's an interesting mindset. It's a businessman's mindset. He says, "Well, I was successful here in this nation. Why can't I be successful in Jerusalem?" And God names the nation he first goes after, Samaria. That's the head of Israel. And Samaria is the head of Ephraim. And if I remember right, let me look that up real quick. Well, I got you here. It's Samaria. Let me just do this real quick. Samaria. I believe it's in Ephraim. All right, Isaiah 7. Isaiah 7. And the head of Ephraim is Samaria, and the head of Samaria is Remaliah's son. If you will not believe, surely you shall not be established. That's an interesting statement. Uh, but it says the head of Ephraim is Samaria. So not only with the Strait of Hormuz, with what Trump's done with that, a lot of people don't even know what was going on with that. Is when they blocked the ships with and everything, the United States under Donald J. Trump became the insurers of the ships of the world. That would work with them because the insurers of Britain, Lloyd's of London, would not um, uh, uh, insure the ships if they left and broke through the barricade. And so, under protection of the United States military and Navy, the United States president promised them insurance. And so that's interesting that with just a little thing, he became the number one insurer of the world. And I haven't heard much more about that, but that's a big world event that should be in the history books. So I've been saying a lot of speculation, but We are at the threshold of the Great Tribulation. And the worldwide Church of God is being raised up and being restored. And we are being gathered together by Jesus Christ to go and support the two witnesses in Jerusalem. That's where we will end up. And from there, we will flee to a place of safety. We don't know how all that stuff will happen, but we know as we do the work of God and as we support God's representatives, and do what God wants done, He'll protect us. We don't have to. We're not going. We're not going to Jerusalem so we can save our butts. While all of our families are going to be going through the torture and martyrdom of being beheaded back home. If we are going there to save our lives, we're going to lose our lives. But we are there to serve God, and we're going to go wherever we go, serving God at whatever risk that may be upon us. And if that means us losing our lives on the way there, or in the meantime between now and the kingdom of God, so be it. But we have to make the decision we are going to be serving God no matter what. Not trying to save our lives, not trying to get to the place of safety where we can take a relaxing vacation. We are going forward to work. And we are going to be working hard for the sake of others, so they may be saved, be escape. Not because we will escape. And I think that mindset we gotta have, brethren. We gotta love our people more than ourselves. Because if we are here trying to follow the church and follow whoever God is using to get into the place of safety and into the kingdom, so you can just save yourselves, it's going to be a hard lesson for you to learn, because you're not going to go into the place of safety. You're going to be in the great tribulation as the remnant. And you're going to have to learn the lesson. Do it God's way. Put God first. And God says, don't be worried about this beast. Don't worry about all that. Because if you're doing what He says to do and you're drawing close to God, He will draw close to you. And He will protect you as His people. He will spare you as a son that serves his father. But we got to be serving our Father, not fighting against God, not trying to hold on to whatever life we've built here in this world while we're trying to. We need to be developing the character of God. And in losing the inferior, we are gaining the superior. We're gaining the more in the kingdom through treasures in heaven. And a lot of people are hanging on to everything in this lifetime. And that's why everyone's attending these different groups. That's why it's going to take a lot of faith. And that's why we need to pray for each other, that we are growing the faith, and that God gives us more faith and gives us more of His Spirit. That way we can start making steps for our people, because the more we step out there, the more space they can step up. Because if we go to sleep, we are their blood is on our head, because we could have done something to encourage them and stir them up. God will hold us responsible, and we all being held responsible. And therefore, that's, brethren, we got to realize that, and we got to get ourselves back on the right track. So I hope I see you next time. I hope you have a wonderful day, and keep an eye out, watch and pray always, watch world events, and pray that you qualify to stand before Jesus Christ instead of fall and become ashes under His feet and the rest of the saints. Let's make ourselves ready, brethren. Have a good day.